He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia High School coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Welcome to Son Coaches Podcast, and today we've got a special guest with us. He's currently the head coach at Johnson High School of Gainesville, Georgia, Coach William Harrell. Thanks for being on with us, Coach.
Hey, appreciate you having us.
Well, Coach, start by telling everybody where you grew up and where you played your high school ball and things like that.
All right. Well, I was born downtown Atlanta. Ended up, growing up in a place called Gresham Park, and moved probably around middle school from Gresham Park. Moved over to the West End, and then from the West End, I moved over to Cascade, going to high school. Graduated from Mays High School in 2002. Played some football there, and then I went to Georgia Southern. And when I went to Georgia Southern, wasn't able to play because I had failed my physical for my knee my freshman year, and so I just went on and took a full load of classes, and I got to my sophomore year, and I ended up taking a class called coaching football, and I'm taking my advisor told me, hey, you need to go ahead and take an elective, because I was taking all these core classes. He's like, you need to go ahead and get an elective here. So he gets me into this coaching football class, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm just going to take some notes, and they probably give us some type of little writing test or something like that, and maybe this will help me play Madden a little bit better. So I get on, and I get in the class. First day in the class, this guy name is Dr. Drew Zwald. Never forget him. He was a skinny white guy, had like mop hair, had like a mop hairstyle. He comes in and says, all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start assigning you all to teams for the Bullitt County Recreation Department. And I started looking around like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And I guess he saw my face, and he was like, well, before you guys get nervous, he said, don't worry. He said, we're going to teach you what you need to do, and you just go ahead and head on out there. You guys will be fine. There's going to be head coaches out there. We just need you, as the assistants. So long story short, I didn't know it, but the class was basically a class where you actually coached rec ball kids. And I happened to be coaching 13, 14-year-olds. And so, I got put into a team and got to coaching my first year. I was a sophomore. It was my first year coaching, and caught the coaching bug. And we ended up winning the championship that year with the rec team. And shoot, I loved it so much. I found out there was a minor in it. I'm like, shoot, sign me up for the minor. I got into the minor. Next year, signed up for it again, but this time I didn't sign up for a class. I just volunteered while I was still going to college. And with a different group of kids, we won it again. Oh, I was done then. I was like, okay, how do we get a career out of this? So at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm in my major is in industrial management. So right now, I'm not doing anything that's got to do with education. I'm about to, be a plant manager or something in about 2-3 years. And so I realized, oh crap, if I want to do this for a living, I'm either going to have to get my master's and be a GA, coach at the college level, or I need to change my major and go ahead and get my certification in teaching, and just go through a master's program to get everything squared away on that end. So I changed my major. I graduated on time, but I don't have my teaching degree. And I end up going back for my master's, get my teaching degree. But in the process of that, I was able to get a provisional job up in Augusta. I went to as a head middle school coach, and it was at Tubman High School. And it was my first head coaching job. I don't know, I skipped over this. Before I went to Tubman, though, I worked 2 years, my junior year, senior year in college. I worked at Portal Middle and High School under Pat Collins. And that was my first experience at the middle school and high school level as an assistant defensive line coach, and then, helping with the defense on middle school. There was a 6 through 12 school. And so built a lot of connections there for 2 years, and then graduated. So then I go to Augusta, get to Augusta in 2007, 2008. And I get to coaching Tubman Middle School for 1 year. And then after that, I get hired as an offensive coordinator at Butler High School. And I was not ready at all to be an offensive coordinator. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even going there to be an offensive coordinator. I was just going there really to be a quarterback coach. And the guy that hired me, Galen Phillips, brings me in. He's like, "Coach, I'm going to tell you right now, you're coming to a real bad situation." They were, I think, in the middle of like this big losing streak, 20, 30 some game losing streak. And, this was a make or break year for him. And some of the guys he had on staff, I think his offense coordinator he had on staff at the time, barely ever showed up. He would show up to games drunk and everything else. And, now I'm trying to wonder, like, why he still got this guy on the staff. But, I'm just like, okay. And so he promotes me from just being a position coach, offensive coordinator, because, hey, I kept showing up. So, it was me and it's another guy, Jason Anthony. He was young like me. I think I only had just 1 year above him. But we were both two young guys just trying to, work hard and, do everything we can and turn something around. And on the varsity, it didn't do any good. We still went 0-10. But on the JV, we fooled around and we lost our first 2 games, and then we won 6 straight after that to get to the county championship. And we played Laney in the county championship, and we lose to them in 6 overtimes.
Good gracious alive.
Yeah, longest game before or since. It's the longest game I've ever coached. I've never coached a game that long. We started at 5:30. We didn't finish until about 10:30.
Good.
And it's so hilarious. The kid that the kid that could have won the game for us, he was a German exchange student. Now he was ineligible to do varsity because he was a foreign exchange student, but he could do JV. So the kid, he would smoke cigarettes off campus because he was used to doing like they smoke over there like teenagers.
Yeah.
So he was used to that deal, but he was, trying to kick for us, and he would foot it in practice. Man, we got him out there. We had to kick I think he was an extra point. We had to kick an extra point to win it. He shanks it. And he's nervous as all get out. It's like, "Coach, I need a seek. And I'm like, "Dude, you can't smoke in the middle of it. First of all, you can't smoke, period, on campus. Second of all, you definitely can't smoke on the sideline during the game." What do you think this is? What type of establishment do you think this is? Well, needless to say, I probably should have snuck him a cigarette because he daggone shanked 3 kicks, and we end up losing.
Man, that's crazy.
Sad but true. So ended up head coach. Coach Phillips, he just let go. And so, they have me as the interim head coach because, the principal at the time didn't feel that I had enough experience, which he was right. He was right, but ended up, being the interim head coach until, throughout the off season. Late into spring, they bring in a guy named Ashley Harden. And, I worked with Ashley Harden through the spring. We get into the summer. I'm working with him into the summer. We get into we're about to go into the dead week. For those of y'all newbies, the second dead week. We only had one dead week. So the ones for that goes into the week of the 4th. So we get into the week of the 4th, and right before we get to the week of the 4th, I get a letter in the mail. And this is like, I want to say it was like a Monday. It's the Monday before we go into the dead week. So that last week of June. And the letter says, hey, because of, and this is around 2009, so this is around recession time. So apparently, unbeknownst to me, I had been moved from Butler High School because I didn't because I was the last person brought in and the first one to be let go. Apparently, they brought in Coach Harden without a teaching job. They didn't let Coach Harden know that. So now they got Coach Harden, who was in Florida. He done moved his whole family up, and they don't have a teaching job for him. Well, of course, they got to find a teaching job for him. The guy who they fired, he hadn't left yet. He hadn't, teaching job-wise, he hadn't left. And they didn't have any other PE spots open. So they had to move somebody. And so they moved me, and they didn't even tell Coach Harden this. So I ended up getting the letter. I called the board. Well, first of all, I called the principal. The principal conveniently is on vacation. So then I called the board, and the board says, yes, this is true. Your principal didn't tell you. Nope, of course he didn't. His name's Gregory Thompson, by the way. Good luck in working for him. He says, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry that, obviously you should have definitely been told. We told him weeks ago. But we only got 3 spots available. We got Hephzibah Elementary, Hephzibah Middle, and it was another middle school. Now, mind you, I'm still in shock because I had no plans to leave Butler. I didn't know anything about any of these other schools. And, I wasn't looking anyway, so I was kind of trying to figure, okay, where could I go? Well, Hephzibah was the only middle school. Hephzibah Middle School was the only one that had a middle school open, and the rest of them were elementary schools. And so I'm like, well, I guess I got to take the Hephzibah Middle job. And so I ended up getting transferred to Hephzibah Middle during the dead week. And now all of a sudden, I'm their head football coach at the middle school. And I've lost the high school position at Butler. And so I go, of course, I tell Coach Harden, he's pissed, and he's, beside himself. But of course, he can't get in touch with anybody because principal is on vacation. And so everything had already been put in motion. So it was just kind of one of those, done deals on that.
This is Augusta, Richmond County for any of you listeners out there that might be curious.
Yes,
as
sir.
to what system this is.
Yes, sir. The one and only.
This is them at their finest. This is par for the course.
It's par for the course. Yep. I got demoted without even getting fired. I just got demoted.
Without the head coach even knowing.
Yeah, without the head coach knowing. Yep.
And he didn't have no help.
Oh, no. Yeah, it was literally me and Anthony. And so we still talk about it to this day because Anthony, he was at the time, Anthony, I think, was a parapro. And, he ended up, working to get his teaching job. But, we were the only 2 that he was going to keep on staff. And so when they moved me, he was, he was scrambling for a good year before he was able to get some other guys in. Because again, they were kind of just last second. So, but yep. So I go to Hephzibah Middle, and there's the guy that was over there. He was the head coach there, head middle school coach there for a number of years, about 5 years. Well, in 5 years, they had went to the middle school championship and won it twice. So he had a certain way of how he was doing things, and how he wanted things run, and how it was ran. And he just up and retired. It was late on their end too. He up and retired. And so now I come in with, all these new ideas. I'm still young now, and coming in last second. So, I kind of got this way of how I want to do things. Well, I'm the only guy that's there. I didn't get to bring nobody in, none of that. The high school isn't involved with the middle school at all. So there's no feeder system as far as that piece. So the middle school, you basically come in, you're running your own ship, because that's kind of how they had done it over there. Well, I keep all the assistant coaches. All them jokers got their own, they like loyal to still the guy in terms of what they want to run and how they want to do things and all that. Long story short, man, it is a train wreck my first year. Train wreck, because I'm dealing with assistant coaches who are loyal to this guy, and most of them don't know any football. And so they're just, the couple things that, they have been taught or know, they were taught based off of that head coach's system. So I'm trying to get them to, work on power or counter. And they don't, I'm having to work with the assistant coaches on how to do a down block, what a down block is, what's a scoop, what's a kick out, what's a fold block, and, getting them to translate that to actually teach the kids instead of, without having to do everything. And so it was just, man, it was rough. It was rough that first year. And ended up, once the season was over with, I cleaned house. I said, I don't know where you got to go, but you ain't coming back here. So we had to start over with the staff with that end. And then the other thing I did, though, was I needed to connect with the high school, because I was very much interested in connecting. Number one, getting back to coaching high school. But number two, just from my time at Portal, I was like, okay, we got to make sure that, whatever the high school is doing, we need to be getting those guys ready for that. So I connect with the high school head coach. His name was John Bowen at the time. And, Bowen, while this is going on, he, they had some success, right before I came over there. They had some guys that were pretty good, went to some colleges, Terry Robinson, Greg Robinson, and Gary Robinson had a couple guys, Connell Reddick. Well, they graduated. So now they, are doing a rebuild, and they lose a couple of key coaches. Their defensive coordinator was really, one of his best coaches. He leaves. Well, he's never able to replace him as far as that next year. So he calls me over and says, look, if can we do double duty where I get you to coach the JV, and I also get you, obviously you do in middle school. I think our middle school games were on Tuesdays in Richmond County. So we play on Tuesday, and then we had our actual Friday night games and all that. Our JV games on Thursday, and then Friday night games from there. So I'm doing double duty my second year, my third year there. And so I work, JV head coach. I work, different offensive and defensive positions for the varsity. And then, I coach, I'm the head middle school coach. So I do that from 2010 because I was there. I first got over there 2009. So 2009, I was just straight middle school. 2010 to 2013, I do that double duty. By 2013, Coach Bowen moves me up to being defensive coordinator for the varsity. Well, at that point, I'm like, well, shoot, I can't do that and be middle school head coach. So I stepped down from middle school head coach and end up being just a varsity defensive coordinator. And the guy that I had one of the assistants that I hired, back in 2010, I had him take over and be the middle school head coach. So I ended up being defensive coordinator at the high school. We do pretty decent. And after that year is over with, I get, it's 2013, so we're going to 2014. I'm looking to see, okay, what opportunities are outside of Richmond County? Because by this point, I've worked myself back up to being a coordinator, but this time I feel like I'm actually ready. I've had experience now. I've learned a lot from Coach Bowen. Learned a lot from the other coaches that were up there in Hephzibah at numerous clinics and went to visit coaches, things like that. So now I'm like, I don't have any loyalties to Richmond County at this point because I already see what they did to me. So I'm like, hey, if I can get something that's back home close to Atlanta or even somewhere that's more serious about football, I'm game. Well, so I see a place that's open called Macon County online on the varsity sports event. Well, I give this guy a call and see the number and everything, and I'm talking to him while I'm watching Jeopardy. My wife's got Jeopardy on, so I'm watching it. And I call this guy, and he sets up, hey, can you meet me? This is around Thanksgiving. So I go down there, and I meet with this guy named Larry Harrell. And at the time, Larry Harrell is the head coach at Macon County High School. Well, Larry Harrell, asked me about my experience, everything like that. We get to talking. And he tells me, he said, why you want to leave? And, I told him everything that happened, as far as me being in Richmond County and all that. And, he says, look, so I looked through the stuff and everything like that. He said, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, your problem ain't what you know. He said, your problem is you don't know enough people. He said, you don't know the right people. He said, there's guys that got less experience than you that have already been a head coach. So the issue is not, your experience. The issue is you don't know the right people to where you know how to market yourself as being an actual guy that can lead a program. And so he says, look, here's what I need you to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set you up to where you're going to be a part of our program. Now, here's the kicker, though. If you're going to be a part of our program, I'm going to need you to go down from being a coordinator to being an assistant coach. And the reason being is because I got a young guy already who's on my staff who is my defensive coordinator. And, I'm loyal to him. He's loyal to him because that's been his guy. He said, but now the guy's extremely smart, but he's young. And so I want you to come on board kind of to be that one of those guys to work right there along with him. And so, he offers me the position. I take it. And so I end up moving from Hephzibah down to Montezuma. And so Montezuma's out in the middle of nowhere. And I go down there and, I coached in 2014, probably the best talent that I've seen top to bottom in my career. Roquan Smith, linebacker, now obviously playing for WNBA, and he's now, the Baltimore Ravens. We had so many other kids that were on that team that didn't even necessarily play, at the pro level or play college, but they were just so freaking talented, man. There was we always say there's some in the water and make them count it. And so we end up going, I think we end up going 8-3 that year or 9-3 that year. And we win the region championship, and, just a very special season. And Larry Harrell gets offered the job at Brunswick. And so he takes the job, and he goes down there in the spring of 2015. So he goes down there early. They asked him if you got anybody you want to bring with you. So he has me. He has Coach Williams, Kurt Williams, who's the defensive coordinator, and he has Ryan McKenzie, and the offensive line guy. And so Kurt gets down there around spring. He leaves early. Well, my issue is I'm doing special. They brought me in teaching wise. I'm doing special ed. But anybody that does special ed will tell you, you got, if you get assigned, kids get assigned to you, you still got to do their paperwork. You still got to do IEP meetings and all that, the annual meetings. This is the first time I ever dealt with a situation where a school was trying to get me to leave before my contract was up.
Right.
And to be honest, I wasn't comfortable with just leaving like in daggone March, and risk, that I ain't signed anything. So I didn't want to be in a situation where I'm in a breach of contract and then I end up getting screwed on the teaching part because I'm trying to go down there to coach spring ball in Brunswick.
Yeah, Richmond County will make you gun shy like that.
It sure will. It sure will. And so I'm like, look, I'm committed. I'm coming, but I'm going to come as soon as I finish my contract, which is in, being a May. So long story short, the head job obviously for Macon County opens up with Harrell leaving, and they asked for, people to interview. Well, most of the folks who was going to interview were outsiders. There was two guys that were supposed to interview on the inside. Kurt, he wanted Kurt to interview, and he wanted me to interview. But really, he wanted us to interview just so that we got the experience, because I really didn't want to interview for it because I knew, even though it was a ton of athletes down there, it's such a small town that, it's you really don't want to stay there because there's so much you have to deal with from a drama standpoint. So I was like, okay, I really don't want to interview. And he said, Harold's like, look, you should interview, get the experience, right? So I go ahead and interview for the job, and Kurt interviews for it. Okay. Kurt ends up, I think, turning it down. They offered it, to him. He turns it down. They don't offer it to me. Okay. So I'm thinking nothing of it. I'm like, okay, interviewed. I didn't get, looked at. I'm good. We get into about that first week in May. I'm doing the track. I'm doing head track for Macon County, and somebody lets me know, was well connected on the inside, lets me know that apparently, I was supposed to actually be someone who was a finalist. Without, like I said, and I didn't have a clue about it. So I don't think nothing of it because it's just one person. Well, literally the next week, I get 2-3 other people who are admin or in that type of situation ask about the same type of deal. Like, hey, you had a perfect score. You didn't get the finalist job? You didn't get the finalist? And I'm like, I didn't know I was a finalist. I didn't know any of this. So now I'm looking like, what the heck? Well, come to find out that the superintendent found out about my interview, and apparently the interview went so well, he called Coach Harrell to see, hey, man, what you think about this guy? Because he blew the interview away. And Harrell told him that I was still a couple of years away. And so I never knew about that conversation. And so that was something that, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I was upset at the time. I was upset about it because I didn't think by, you know, going through everything I was going through, I didn't think that I was actually gonna have a chance to actually get a job. But then to know that, hey, I actually had did that well, you know, I wanted to have the ability to turn it down. I wanted to be able to say, hey, they offered me the job and I respectfully declined. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I didn't get that opportunity. And so that was something at the time. I mean, now I'm not worried about it now, but at the time it was something that, you know, it was kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But it was still water under the bridge because I still was like, hey, you know, all right, well, I'm still going to go to Brunswick. Well, Coach Harden, guy, remember I told you they got hired at Butler. Coach Harden is now down in Twiggs County. And Coach Harden calls me up. Now we're good friends at this point. He calls me about the second, third week of May and says, hey, you supposed to be going with Harrell in Brunswick, right? I say, yep. He says, what position you going down there for? I say, well, I'm going down there, you know, coach defensive line. He says, well, you know, they advertising the defensive line spot online. And I said, no way. And he said, yeah. And so I call Harrell up, and Harold's like, hey, you know, you're still good. You still, you know, come on down. So again, I'm like, okay. All right. So year ends, I head down to Brunswick, move my family, you know, costs about $2,000-$3,000 to move down there. And so we get down there, and, you know, it's a beautiful area. Anybody that's been down, you know, the St. Simon's area especially, has never been around the beach area before. It's beautiful. It is. Get down there, get right to work as far as, you know, going into summer practice. And Hephzibah calls me. Hephzibah AD calls me while I'm down there. And AD calls me and says, hey, you know, just wanted to let you know that the head coach of Hephzibah is left. And wanted to offer you an interview. And I said, no, you know, I'm heading to Brunswick. You know, no, thank you. I'm good. So I turned it down. Well, we get our first staff meeting in Brunswick, and everything seems to be going well. Coach Harrell's going over the June calendar, all that good stuff. We ended up, finishing the meeting up, and Harrell calls me into his office with Coach Williams and Coach McKenzie. So we come in there, and Harrell says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I thought you was gonna take the job at Hephzibah." And I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I never said such a thing. You know, I've been committed to coming down this whole time. But because I didn't come down in March like Harold did, he thought I backed out, even though we called, on a routine basis, and he'll ask, hey, you still in? You still good?" And I'll say, yeah, I'm in. So he didn't trust my word. So he ended up hiring somebody else for the position. And now the only job I'm left with is a freshman head coaching job and an E2020 class. So I get demoted again, but now I get demoted because, I didn't do things the way he wanted them done. So I'm pissed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I done moved 5 hours away. We're in the middle of nowhere in terms of family. I done spent $3,000 of my own money that I didn't get from them. I didn't have them, had on my own to move my family down there. just to find out after we've already moved everything and settled. Oh, by the way, yeah, we had to give your spot away. So I'm pissed, and I wasn't. I ain't gonna lie, I couldn't hide it. I was very pissed, and just so happens that I think it was the next day because we had a practice that morning, and later on that day I got a call from Hephzibah again, and I let it go to voicemail. I didn't even answer it, and so the coach, the AD calls me and says, "Look," he said, "I know you already told me, you're not interviewing." He said, "But I'm gonna put your name down on the list anyway, and time and all that. And if you can come, cool. If you can't, cool." He said, "But I'm gonna put you down." And so I end up calling him back, and I told him, I said, "Look, I'll come. I'll be up there to interview." And I told Harrell what was going on. I go up there. I think it was a Thursday. Go to interview, and the following Tuesday I get the job, and I end up having to move my family back up to Augusta, 2015. By the time I get up there, it's like the third week in June, and I'm the head football coach at Hephzibah High School, 2015. And you're talking about whirlwind. It was something else.
You moved around the state just to be the head coach at Hephzibah again.
Exactly. And I want to say this, Larry Harrell, without him, I will not have been a head coach. Let me be clear. He closed the gap. There was a gap that I had in terms of knowing how to interview, knowing how to present, knowing how to display a vision, and be a CEO. I don't get that without him. Now, like I said, I don't take back what happened as far as what happened. Do I wish it would have been handled differently? Oh, absolutely. Do I think it should have been handled differently much? Absolutely. But him and I, since that time, we've talked, we've hashed it out. We're good. We're good guys now as far as, we're on the same group chat, all that good stuff. So without him, I don't get where I am today. So let me be clear on that. But anybody that knows me know that I'm gonna tell the truth too, whether it's good or bad or ugly. I'm gonna say what it is. And like I said, that I'm not perfect, and I hadn't been perfect in everything either. Most guys that's in this profession, if they know anything outside of Richmond County, like what you said, you get a situation like that. Typically, you can just up and move, and usually the system that you're going to can take care of you. But I hadn't had that type of experience in moving all over the place,
right?
And so, I didn't know any better.
Well, and two, the way you get treated in Richmond County, they make you gun shy.
They sure do,
because they'll make you scared of losing everything.
Yes, they do.
Because they will go after you.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. And I've seen it firsthand. With guys that have been in the same, being other head coaches in the county, and I've seen them do it to assistants. So, but I get to Hephzibah 2015. First year is tough because I'm just coming in. We are senior heavy, but half of them are guys that are inexperienced. And then you still got that thing of, having to get guys to buy into the system and all that. And so we go 3-7. And we lose a ton, obviously we lose a lot of those guys. The following year, we got 3 seniors. I think we got 3 or 4 seniors that year. And we're playing Thompson, Burt County back to back, and some of these other schools that we have no business playing, like just no business playing. We get shellacked. We get destroyed. And we end up going, 0-10. Probably one of the worst seasons in Hephzibah history. And it was rough. It was rough. A perfect example of it was our last game against Burke County. We come out and on offense, I'll never forget it. We go empty. We go 5 wide, and we throw a strike down the middle, and it's like a 67-yard touchdown. And we're up 6-0 in Hephzibah against Burke County, who's ranked like in the state at this point. And our kids are losing their mind. They're like, oh. 6-0, Burke County. We try to go for 2. We don't get it. Burke County proceeds to score 81 unanswered points.
Good gracious alive. Ooh, wee.
Final score 81-6.
Yikes. Well, it happens.
Yeah, and that was the season finale. Exactly. So we were daggone rock bottom with that. And so we get into the all season, and I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I can do to turn this thing around, right? Because a lot of the guys we had, we kind of a similar situation I'm now in with Johnson. We were young as all get out. We had a ton of freshmen and sophomores that were playing varsity. It wasn't you could play JV. No, it was just straight varsity. Like, you got to play. So we ended up, having to set it up where, for the most part, all this time, I've always been playing guys, both ways. We had enough numbers at Hephzibah, kids coming out, stuff like that. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to run with it, and we're going to move, because anybody know in Richmond County, you'll find out quick. You're not going to get enough assistant coaches that are going to be certified. You're just not, unless you are on a run or you got some connects. It usually is not going to happen, because the pay, you're not going to be able to bring those guys away from a Thompson, from a Burke County or some of these other counties that were neighboring, and could pay them way more. Jefferson County, Lincoln County, et cetera, et cetera. So I decided, okay, I only got one certified coach in the building. And I got the AD. The AD doesn't coach anything. He's just there collecting a check. So I got to bring in community coaches, but I got to treat them with the same expectations as a varsity coach, a certified coach. And if they don't meet up to it, I got to have the balls to fire them. And so that's what I did. And it worked. We hired, a guy named Cornell Harris, who had worked, with Aquinas as a community coach before. We hired a couple of guys that were local in the area. Joshua Hayward, who was a firefighter. We hired, I don't know why the name escapes me now. He's going to kill me when he sees me. Doggone it. My guy, he was a mechanic. He's going to kill me, golly. But he was a, offensive line coach. And then my one guy I was able to, have in the building was TJ Norris, and he was my defensive coordinator. Young guy, fired as all get out. I had to kind of, had to calm him down a little bit, but he knew his football. That was a good thing. I didn't have to worry about defense. And so with those guys and, a couple guys outside of that here and there, all of a sudden now I had a setup where we could actually get positions coached up, and I could keep them, on weekends and do different stuff like that. And they were going to commit to it. And so, and their schedule, their day schedule worked to where they were able to do it. So we ended up going 2 platoon from the 2017 to when I left 2020. We went 2 platoon. So if you was an offensive guy, you stayed on offense no matter what. If you was a defensive guy, you stayed on defense no matter what. And it just helped our guys so much in terms of specializing in learning just that one position. And then it made us more competitive in practice because guys started taking ownership of first their position, then their side of the ball. And then start, offense versus defense. And, offense wins, the defense, get fussed out. Defense win, offense get fussed out. So all of a sudden now it started to really kind of build off itself. We had a good group that was coming from Hephzibah Middle, about 2-3 classes that were really good. And, between the coaches and the players, we started getting turned around. We went 4-6, 2017, broke the losing streak we had. We lost to Baldwin, which ended up knocking us out the playoffs. We lost to them with 19 seconds left. They were a 42-point favorite. We lost to them 8-6. And that was with our starting quarterback. He got knocked out a couple of weeks ago. So we were playing. No. That was the ARC game. With Baldwin, he ended up driving us all the way down to the 19-yard line. And so he ended up one play away. And so we get to 2018, we bring everybody back and running the same system, still doing everything the same way. The seniors take ownership, and those guys are getting guys in the weight room, like literally the season's over with. They're right back in there next week in November. Long story short, we end up going, 8-3 and going to the playoffs for the first time, in I think 4 or 5 years. And so we ended up, really getting, a lot of publicity and everything off of that. But a lot of it was just because of what the players buying in and the coaches that we had not allowing being, quote unquote, a community coach to keep them from deciding they want to be the best coach that they could be. That staff I would put against anybody because they worked their butts off and, we're committed to our kids. And we did a lot of stuff in terms of trying to make sure we did things the right way. We did a lot of stuff above and beyond because of how Richmond County is. We did drug tests. We actually would test our kids for marijuana during spring. And then we'd test them again for marijuana going into fall camp. Because we wanted them to be set up like, hey, understand, we're trying to get you ready for college. And our thought process was if we can build the reputation of us being a school that'll get you ready for the next level, if you want to play that, next level, then that could be something which, the kids will take pride in it. Not just winning, but winning the right way. And, as crazy as it sounds, we lost some kids that did very well for us, but we lost some kids just so that we could build a culture overall, and also so where nobody thought that they were above the program. We had, I think, in 2019, our best linebacker transferred from us to go to Glen Hills because he could not stop smoking. And, we kind of did it the same way as the NFL model. If you first offense, you missed a quarter of the season, which was 2.5 games. Second offense, you missed half the season. You missed 5 games, and we just kept it going. Well, he got busted twice, so he already knew, hey, you're going to be out for 5 games. So he was just like, oh, whatever. So he leaves, go to Glen Hills. We mollywop him. I can't remember the score. It's like 56, I think, 6 or something like that. And he comes up after the game crying and hugging the guys like, man, I should have never left. I should have just listened to y'all. And we was trying to make it to where, I always tell the guys, I'd rather be the villain now. I'd rather hate me now and love me later. Because if you end up having to pay the price now, that's fine. I didn't want you to pay the price by you going to jail or by you getting kicked out of school. And then that's how you learn.
Right.
Because then it's too late. So, it like I said, I was in charge of directing the vision, but I wasn't the only one enforcing it. TJ Norris, Cornell Harris, Joshua Hayward, all those guys, man, they helped drive the actual vision forward. And, we had 2 really successful years because of that. And so we get to 2020 and, I had been approached. In 2019, I was approached, and early 2020, I was approached as far as like some different coaching jobs, and I was on the fence about it because I truly enjoyed our kids that we were coaching. I truly enjoyed being at Hephzibah High School for the kids. Anybody knows, it's well documented, I did not like Richmond County in terms of the board, how they ran things, how corrupt the history of the system was, as far as with Charles Lark and a lot of the stuff that went on with that. I didn't like the constant turnover.
Oh, that was a name I didn't think I'd ever hear again. Good gracious alive. Yeah.
One of the biggest swindlers I've ever heard of. He swindled Richmond County into daggum almost their bankruptcy. But George P. Bailey, I would respect him as far as like, hey, just in the position you were in. But he was horrible at his job.
Yeah, good man, good person.
Good man.
Yeah, good person, bad at his job.
Horrible. We're not talking like, oh, he was okay, he was decent. No, 0 out of 10. Horrible athletic director.
0
horrible. I just want to it'd be on the record. Somebody go back and tell him you were horrible. In the Hall of Fame, horrible athletic director. Horrible. Okay, I can tell you that now because I ain't on your payroll. You were horrible.
But he's probably a 9 or a 10 as a person.
Yeah. Oh, great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Lovely human being.
Listen,
just
outside,
not good at his job.
Yes. Outside of the actual job of being an athletic director, wonderful man.
Countywide AD, not just AD at your school. He's the countywide AD, getting paid lots of money.
Yes. Paid tons of money. And it was just, I kept running into situations that were taking me away from what needed to be done. We had a fundraiser we did where, we were trying to sell cars and things like that. And, call myself, went by the book, went through the bookkeeper at the time, the bookkeeper that is there now, or that was there, 2020, she was a sweetheart. She's great. But the one that was there from 2015 to 2019, she was the devil incarnate. Okay. But she literally had teachers scared to go into her office. And so, long story short, I, fight through that hell to get it approved. Well, long story short, we get about, squared away with the fundraiser. Next thing you know, Bailey calls from downtown while I'm at a contact camp, no less. A lineman camp. We're at a lineman camp over in Jefferson County as a lineman camp. And they're telling me that I got to go ahead, come from the lineman camp, and I need to lay out every single last card that was filled out by every single last player. And I had to have all of it printed. 37 pages worth. And I needed it done before the day was over with.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You talking about pissed. And so J.B. Arnold is at the camp, and I'm telling him, and he sees I'm 38 hot, and JB Arnold is like, welcome to Richmond County. JB knew firsthand. Because JB had got a number of coaches from Richmond County.
Oh, yeah.
Because Richmond County was so trash in terms of how they handled their business. And so we had lost good coaches to them. We lost, God rest his soul, Tim McCain. He was in Richmond County for a while, and then he ended up going to Jefferson County because of that. So we lost guys that were good coaches. Of course, you talked about Eric Parker. We lost Dagum Lackey. He finally was like, screw this. Of course, way back, John Starr, when he won
he was at Josie.
With Josie, the crap that he had to deal with, he said deuces, which I don't blame him for. If you ever know about that story, those y'all that, don't know your history, if you ever hear about that story, that'll throw you for a doozy. Dagum, of course, I talked about Ashley Hart, them losing him. They lost so many coaches left and right who were quality coaches because they didn't know how to take care of their coaches. They didn't take care of their programs, and they would micromanage on the stuff that didn't matter. And then the stuff that did matter, they never allowed you to do what needed to be done.
No.
We ended up getting a grant that was given to us from I can't remember the name of it. I think it was Jefferson Electric, I think. They had a grant that they would award if, a business or organization would come up and present their case for what they needed to use it for. Well, we had some stuff we needed to buy. I think matter of fact, we had to get a score. We had to get a play clock. Okay. Richmond County would supply a play clock. So we said, we'll see if we can, go for this grant and see if we can get the money to pay for all the play clock. And our alumni association, by the way, Hephzibah Alumni Association, shout out William Johnson. He's his sister is the one that put us onto it. So we said, okay, perfect. We go for it. They approve us. We get it. Bailey calls them downtown, haven't heard about, because they saw us, get a picture taken of us getting the grant, and said, y'all can't do that. Y'all supposed to split that money up.
Yeah, it's got to go into the whole everybody.
All the I said, okay, so what you doing with Laney? Since that's y'all private school down there, you making Laney split everything? Or you making ARC split everything when they get their donations from their guys who've been there over 100 years ago? Are you doing that? No? Okay, I don't want to hear it. So at that point, I was fed up. I was fed up with all the crap, all the BS that we were having to fight and deal with that had nothing to do with winning football games. And so by the time we got to 2020, I actually was listening. I was actually listening. I was offered a job down in what's the name of the place? Bradwell Institute. I turned them down. I was offered a Washington Wilkes job. I turned that down. And there were reasons why, just knowing where you're going and knowing what kind of battles you got to deal with and stuff like that. And, I knew coaches that were in those areas at the current time, what was going on with those places. So I turned them down because there were certain things, again, shout out to Coach Harrell. There were certain things that, okay, if you're going into a job, you need to learn what to demand when you come in. Because they're not coming you come in there for the honeymoon period. They want results. And in order for you to get results, you got to have the things necessary for it. So I knew, okay, if I was coming in, I needed a certain amount of coaches. Okay, I needed compensation. I need to make sure financially I was set up where I was supposed to be. And I need to make sure that, as far as the classroom set up, everything was good there in terms of am I teaching classes? If I am teaching classes, how many classes, how many planning periods, all that stuff. And so we couldn't get those parameters squared away for Bradwell Institute because they wouldn't offer a 12-month contract, and we couldn't get that squared away with Washington Wilkes. They had some stuff going on. So I ended up, going into March, and I'm thinking, well, I guess I'm going to just stay put. I'm going to stay at Hephzibah and keep it moving. Well, that's what happens in March 2020. Shutdown.
No COVID.
So everything gets shut down. So we're all now daggum having to be sent home. Well, the day before the students were sent home first. The day before the teachers get sent home, I get asked about job up here in Hall County, Johnson High School. So I'm like, well, I'll put in for it because it's close enough to Atlanta, but it's not in Atlanta. I didn't want to go into Atlanta because I didn't want to deal with the crime. I didn't want to deal with the traffic. And I didn't want to deal with all of the rampant recruiting that goes on down there. There's definitely some that's up here, but it's dog eat dog world down there. It's highway robbery, what they do down there. And to be honest with you, they've been doing it now for like 20 years now. It's just sad. But in any event, I was like, ain't no way I'm going there. So I ended up, taking the call. I, talked with the AD at the time, Tony Wagner. And then, we go into shutdown. They do a Zoom call with me to interview. And then I have to do a second interview in person. So I actually drive up here in April when everything is locked down. I come up here, interview with them, head back. And they give me a call and let me know, hey, you got the job. So I get the job. I go ahead, resign from Hephzibah, move up here. I move up here April 19th. And my first meeting with my players was through Zoom. I want to say in May. I had, I think I had 6 guys on the Zoom. And I knew what I was getting into in terms of understanding the demographic and all that good stuff. What I didn't realize was how many kids they had lost. They graduated a ton from the previous year. The guy that was coaching them at the time, Stan Luttrell, he was only here for 1 year. He cashed in on what the previous coach before him, Coach Rocklemore, he cashed in on Coach Rock, having those guys for about 2-3 years. And then Coach Rock went to take the job, took the job at Towns County. And so those guys were seniors. He runs a pretty good system, split back veer, and does a good job of getting them going that 1 year. And then he hightails it out to go to Hebron Christian. So I come in, kind of a similar situation as Hephzibah, and situation, we for Hephzibah Middle, where I come in and I don't have any coaches with me. I'm coming in because of the shutdown and all that. I'm coming in with just a holdover staff. I lose 2 coaches in the middle of the summer because they don't have teaching jobs. They're having to get a teaching job somewhere else. So they leave. So I lose them. And so we end up having so few coaches that the head basketball coach, the head wrestling coach, and one of the baseball assistant coaches have to actually be on my staff just to round out the staff for that 2020 season. And, it was brutal. We were playing Clark Central and, Loganville and some of them other schools that we had no business playing. And we got destroyed. We got destroyed in 2020. We come back the next year. We only got 17 kids in the summer. We get killed again. And then we get into this past year. We get into 2 years ago where we finally got some kids that have hung in there. And we lose 6 games by less than 3 points. 6 games by less than 3 points. And you talking about frustrating. It was frustrating.
Gaining on it.
Yeah, but what I noticed was every year our points were going up and our points allowed were going down. Now you wasn't seeing that in the scoreboard, but you just, the numbers was telling the story. So we finally get to this year, and all of our guys were seniors. And so, we have a real good off season. The first time my 4 years being here, we actually had, over 30 guys showing up consistently to summer workouts. And for us, over 30 is a huge number. Most schools 60 to 80 kids. For us, is 30 to 40. So we end up having like 40 some kids, this past season, and we end up, we break the streak. We win 4 games this year, which is most games they won since 2019. And so now we're coming up into this season. We're young again, but we're deep on both sides of the offensive line, the offense and defensive line. And we got some young promising talent at running back, quarterback, and at linebacker. So it's been a journey, man. My focus has changed a lot from when I first started down in Portal up to now. I used to be all about just trying to get guys into college, win as many games as I could, and, help guys, build for life after high school. Those are the 3 things. And, by the time I got to Johnson, and really at the end of Hephzibah, I got to where I didn't really care about trying to win at all costs. I got over that because I realized all the teams, all the coaches and stuff that's winning at all costs, it's a couple of things you got to decide you're going to do. Number one, you either got to decide you're going to go to a place that's going to invest in football, okay? And a lot of those are going to be like your rural counties. So you got to go somewhere that's going to invest in football. If you don't, you're just wasting your time in the state of Georgia. Or you got to go somewhere where cheating is profusely allowed. And, when we're talking cheating, we're talking, just straight up moving your family into the daggum, district and setting up addresses and, now you got the NIL literally paying kids to come transfer to your school. We got some of that going on now with, one of the schools up the street here. So, but yeah, I just decided that, because of my faith and my convictions, it wasn't worth it. I can go without, if I don't win a state title or anything like that, I'm good. Real guys know ball. And I always challenge guys, if you think you can really coach, come coach somewhere where there's 83% Hispanic first generation. That'll show you how good of a coach you are. Anybody can coach kids that know what football is and play football. It's a whole other story when you get kids that are 9th, 10th, 11th grade that never played the game. And you got to be the first one to teach them and play against varsity competition too. So that to me, that's what real coaching is being able to really take guys who don't know the game and help them grow. I talked with Franklin Stevens back when he was in Ware County at the time. And I remember having a conversation with him and, talked about my time at Hephzibah. And he was just like, it made sense. But exactly what my point. We have 2 different missions. Now, his mission's not wrong. My mission's not wrong. But we got 2 different missions. For him, he would never take a job at a Hephzibah. Never. He'd never take a job in Richmond County. Never. He's going to go to a place where it's going to be serious about football. And you got to decide, whether you're a young coach, whether you're an old coach in between, you got to make sure that what is it that I'm trying to get out of this thing? because everybody's going to get something out of it. You know, of course, yeah, you do it for the kids, but if you as a coach don't get something out of it, you're not going to last long. So most of us aren't doing it for the money. There's a select few that are, but most of us aren't doing it for the money. So what is it that you're trying to get out of it? Are you trying to win championships? Are you trying to, get to the playoffs every year? Are you trying to send kids off to college? Stevenson was huge about sending kids off to college when what's his name was there? God, he's there forever. Cottrell. Huge about sending kids to college, right? So, what are you like? What is your goal? What is it that satisfies you? And so for me, where I'm at now, especially the last 4 to 5 years, for me, it's about impact. And so impact for me means kids after high school is over with, reaching back out to me, coming back to visit, coming back to speak to the kids, coming back to watch workouts, coming back and, let me know they graduated college, coming back and let me know they finished the tour in the military, coming back and let me know they got married, coming back and let me know that they got a kid on the way and they got a good stable situation to raise them in or raise her in, coming back and, into the teacher profession, coming back, and just, being in a good situation or being in a good place. And then also impact for me is having coaches leave me and making sure they don't go through the crap I went through in some places and making sure that they get positive recommendations to get head jobs somewhere else or get coordinator jobs somewhere else or get situations where they get promoted from within. That type of deal. That's what impact means to me. And so that's what I'm coaching for is impact. So try to sum up everything as much as possible. I don't know how good of a job I did. I know I had to jump around a little bit in some spots, but hopefully that told the gist of, my coaching career.
Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate it. It's been a long journey for sure. And as somebody else who survived Richmond County and came out on the other end alive, I for one can appreciate it. And continued success, just awesome what you're doing for young people. Continue to have an impact. And if there's ever anything I can do to help you, just reach out.
I appreciate you. I just want to shout out Pat Collins, Galen Phillips, John Bowen, Larry Harrell, and then also, Tony Wagner, who was the AD, he just retired this year at Johnson. All those guys, shout those guys out for giving me an opportunity for the time which they did. And all those guys helping me grow in different parts of my career. And then also, our current administration, Mr. Jonathan Edwards, Tim Rogers, Stacy Cash, and our new AD, Lewis Pulliam. Appreciate all those guys trying to get this thing to roll in the right direction moving into this year.
Well, I know you're going to do a great job, Coach, and we sure do appreciate you being on with us.
Hey, appreciate you.